evening, everybody, and welcome to the first Selectman Forum for the town of Killingworth. Your candidates tonight are seated in the order in which we drew for speaking first, second, and third. They are Johnson Perry will go first, Eric Couture will go second, and Amy Roberts Perry will go third. But we will keep rotating the order throughout the question period. I am Elise Lowe. I will be the moderator for this forum. I am from the town of Guilford. I'm voter service chair for the League of Women Voters of the East Shore. We offer our services to run debates and forums in a nonpartisan fashion. We never endorse candidates or parties before elections or any time. So with that in mind, we will ask questions that are applicable to all three candidates, that are equal and fair to each. We will begin with an opening statement of 1 minute each as to what are your qualifications, especially most recent experiences having to become your first select person, select man or select woman. John, would you start, please?
Do we do the pledge?
No.
No? Okay. Do I stand or sit?
Stay seated, please.
Okay. My name is John Sampieri. I'm a resident of Killingworth. This is my 18th year here. People always ask questions like, well, what have you done here? Or what have you ever done? Well, I'm from West Haven. And in West Haven, I was what's called the councilman at large. My constituent base was 54,000 people and a $100 million budget. I was elected with all of the other party, which is Democrats, and I was the only Republican, and we had a ball. It was probably one of the best times of my life. After that, it was, I guess, I'll stop at that point, because you're going to stop me anyway. Thank you.
We need 2 minutes for these. Do you feel,
I mean, I would like a little more time at that.
Okay.
And are you guys okay with that? 2 minutes instead of 1?
2 minutes, okay, I'll give you
Okay,
a
we'll give
minute.
you 2 minutes.
You get a minute and 20 seconds. So.
Okay, and I was also elected to a Board of Fire Commissioners. Board of Fire Commissioners, well, in the city side, we had hundreds of employees, negotiated contracts after contracts, but in the fire district, I had 27 paid men who worked under me, and I had about 100 volunteers. We had all kinds of problems within. We had a firehouse that was caving in, and with my experience from the city council, I was able to get grants and all kinds of money to save a building that was over 100 years old. We made a decision not to build a new one, but to save the old one. In doing so, we saved money. Along that same track, when I ran, the Board of Fire Commissioners before me wanted a 3 mil increase. And in front of a crowd of about 500 people, I said, well, we're not even going to knock I'm not going to do the mill rate there, the 3 mils. I said, I'm going to cut 3 mils from the existing budget. And that's exactly what I did. And I held that mill rate for almost 4 years and 2 terms that I was there. I guess that's how.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. 2 minutes.
So my name is Eric Couture. I'm our Democratic candidate here in town. I grew up here, lived in town for 30 years now. Went through the high school, played baseball here, umpired here, did all sorts of things that every student and child who lives in Killingworth does. Went to Rochester Institute of Technology for physics and political science, came back, worked up in Hartford for several years in a data analyst capacity, and then at the same time worked on the Board of Ed for 4 years and was happy to serve as one of your Board of Ed members. We had a lot of challenges in those years. We closed HES, we did the whole high school renovation project, but we managed to work through it together and move forward. At the end of the day, the reason I'm running is because I want to serve this town in a future capacity, and it's important to me as somebody who grew up here that we keep that sort of spirit of volunteering alive and the idea that we give back to the community that put so much into us alive. This is why I'm running. I love it here in Killingworth, and I want to make sure that future generations can love it here in Killingworth.
Thank you. Amy?
My name's Amy Roberts-Terry. I'm a Republican candidate. I have run my own business for the last 37 years. I do office and house cleaning. Through the years, at the peak, we had 12 to 15 employees at the time. Through COVID, we managed to survive through COVID with the ups and downs. I was able to apply for the PPP to keep my people employed full-time so nobody lost their jobs. It was forgiven, as well as I do the monthly, weekly payroll scheduling. I run the business. I'm used to doing balance sheets and making sure that everything gets done. I feel running the business gives me great qualifications to work at Town Hall. 80% of Town Hall takes care of itself. The majority of thing that I'm going to be responsible for is getting you people to help volunteer and staff commissions and other things that we need the citizens to help us with. I've been door knocking. Some of you have seen me, some of you have seen my literature, but we're going to need you guys to help us, whomever wins, but hopefully me, run the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, to Eric first. Sorry. What do you believe are the biggest challenges facing Killingworth in the coming years?
These are 1 minute answers.
Okay. Three biggest challenges I can think of are affordability, managing our school systems, and addressing the traffic and safety concerns that the residents have. Look, we need people to volunteer for commissions and committees, and you need to be able to afford to live in town, keep your expertise in town, and provide knowledge backgrounds that we don't always all share. So making sure that people are able to live in town is critical. On school system, we have aging infrastructure. I was on the rebuilding plan project at the high school. It still needs work, but it's largely mechanical work, and I think we're going to have to work with the school district to make sure that that fits in with affordability issues. And finally, when it comes to traffic and safety, we are one of the safest communities in Connecticut, but there's always work to be done on that front.
Thank you. Amy?
Top three things. Right now, we have budgetary concerns. There's a lot of infrastructure. The high school right now, I'm concerned that for us to take it down and rebuild it, that's going to be an awfully expensive project. Hopefully they're going to be able to do some engineering to save part of the building. I would love to save some of the buildings so that we can cut the expense. And the PFAS in the water, as well as the firehouse, are things that need to be attended to.
Okay. John?
Yeah, I mean, to look at just three things would be, wouldn't be right. My heating and air conditioning and being a contractor in the state of Connecticut for 54 years puts me in a little better of a position than others in town, because I look at everything from mechanics. I look at the addition on the barn that's going to be done. I look at the continuing work on the town hall. I look at PFAS, and when I look at those things, I look at it from a mechanical standpoint. My expertise, 54 years, I started my trade at... Thank you.
I won't do that.
Yeah.
You guys don't want me doing that.
Yeah, it's fine. And because of my mechanical background, I don't have to guess on these items. We have PFAS, we have a whole lot of taxation coming our way. People have known where I've been at on anything that I think is over the top. And I'm usually the one out there that says, that's not going to happen as far as too much money. We did it with the Venuti property. I said no. We did it with the over expenditures on the town hall. I said no. And when I say no, it usually is a no. Thank you.
And starting with Amy? What would your immediate priority for the town be?
It would be to learn the job, get familiar with what's still on the docket from the last board, and to see what has to go on from there. I'm not going to be good at this. I'm a little nervous, but I guess I'll stop at that when we get there. Thank you.
Josh?
My first priority? Is that what the-
Immediate priority?
Immediate? Well, it isn't like I need on-the-job training. I've served in many capacities before. From day one, we're up and running. We're going right at the PFOS, which everyone knows. The barn that they've already allocated some money for is going to be cleaned up, fixed, and on its way. Secondly, mine is all about mechanics. It's roads, culverts, and when the snow's flying out there, you can guarantee one thing. I'll be at the town barn, and I'll be overseeing what goes on. So I've done it before in my own town, and nothing gets by me as far as money, over expenditures or under expenditures. You will get everything that I promised, and every penny you spend, you will see that when you drive along these roads. If you don't see that, then I guess we're going to have to increase the manpower a little bit. But that's it.
So it's going to be getting down to the brass tacks on the budget, making sure that we are working within our means to finance the needs of the town and what we want this town to look like. And it's going to be working with the other boards and commissions to create an atmosphere that means we can all work together to solve these issues. No man is an island. Not every person has every bit of experience they need. And so making sure that we all work together, learn from one another, and see what our needs are is going to be critical. From there, there are appointments that need to be made to commissions and committees, and you're going to have to be looking at what the road crew's doing. We pray that there's no snow this year, but that's a prayer that we pray every year, and we always fail at it. But at the end of the day, it's going to be about working together, listening to what people have to say, and making sure that our decisions can be made at consensus.
Okay. Next question. Given the prospect of steadily decreasing state aid and the need to finance some town proposals, do you foresee an increased mill rate in the next few years? John, you start.
Mine?
Yes.
Oh, geez, I hope not. I mean, I've served in a lot of, like I said, a lot of other capacities, and even working with the 12 Democrats I worked with, I certainly, we didn't raise the mill rate in my term. In my fire commission term, we never raised it there. So if you base things on my past, you'll see that raising the mill rate, unless the school board starts really pounding us to death this time, and if that's the case, then we'll have to spread those monies over. But I'm hoping to work within the budgets that I've given this year and not go any higher with the mill rate.
Right.
I don't foresee a need to increase the mill rate right off the bat. You have to look at what the state is going through. We've had increasing state revenues for the last several years, and so working with the state to make sure that we are able to achieve grants that we need to address issues like PFAS, to address things like the roads and schools is a critical component of it. Working to bring those dollars in offsets some of the costs that we bear here in Killingworth as property owners, and making sure that we do so in a thoughtful and prospective manner means that we can make sure that we don't encounter any fiscal cliffs. We've had great work on the Board of Finance in doing that so far, but that's something that needs to continue.
Amy?
The mill rate has been steady. We are going to be doing the school plan, but that's not going to be immediate. We have a very good capital 10-year plan, so we've been planning for things. We should be able to maintain what we have. Things are going to come off that we've been paying for, and then we're going to have more bonding that we're going to need to do. So I don't foresee a tragic increase, but it all depends on what you vote on to have us do.
Next question has to do with Public Works, which you've already mentioned. If elected, will you consider replacing Public Works staff with only CDL employees? Eric?
I think it is far too soon to even think about that. You know, we have a consultant who is doing work to look at our public works department. I don't think that report has been returned yet, so making that decision without seeing what that says, I think would be a fool's errand at this point.
I don't think that that would be necessary. As Eric said, there is a study that we're still waiting to get the results from, but there are things that need to be done through the town that would not necessarily, it would be nice to have that license, but it doesn't mean that's needed to do the other things that the town currently does.
You know, this is a tough question for a working guy, because I mean, I've worked my whole life, hundreds of hours a week, it just never stopped. We need help in the public works. There's no question. We've been kicking this same can down. Every administration keeps saying yes, yes, and no. But what's going to happen if I get elected? Most of the people that will be hired, certainly I'm looking to hire 4 part-timers. 4. 19 hours or less. They're not going to see all the pensions and all the union stuff. And out of those 4, over the next 2 years when I'm in, and that hiring's going to happen soon, out of those 4, 2 of those are going to emerge. Should they have a CDL? If they don't have a CDL, they're going to get a CDL. And that's part of the training. So that's my plan, is to put more men on the roads. When the taxpayers, every penny you spend, you'll see the roads will be spick and span when I'm in office over there.
Next question. What are some ways that you might address the concerns about cars speeding on Killingworth roads?
We need to reinvigorate the Traffic Safety Commission that was put into place recently, but then it was disbanded. It needs to have a better charge in it. We all know that we speed, and we need to have a little more of the citizenry helping us to maintain that and get the speeds down.
I just forgot the question. How do we fix it? Speeding around town?
How would you address the concerns about cars speeding on the road?
Well, I mean, we all know that for people who can look in the future here, which is visionaries and there's people with no vision. We have one police officer who covers an awful lot of turf here. We got about 37 miles. We have to look, not so much for us, but in the future, where are we going to go with that? Sooner or later, I mean, we have so many ex-policemen, state police, we have a lot of retirees here. Again, just like I said to the Public Works, we have to look and say, to the people who pay a ton of taxes, who always say they are not benefiting in any way. They don't have kids in the school system, they don't work in this town, they don't do anything here. Can we get together and say, let's start to consider possibly some local sheriffs to pick up that load, to go out and patrol those roads, not depend on the one state police officer to cover 70 miles of our roads in 37 miles. It just doesn't make sense. It should have been addressed a long time ago. But, so, thank you. Go ahead. That's fine.
Karen?
You know, we're going to have to look at what other towns have done to address speeding and traffic concerns in their areas. Madison has taken some measures that we should look at. You know, we see in Chester when we go on 148, they have a speed sign that shows you how fast you're going. We need to start looking at bringing that in, looking for grants from the state to make sure that we have those measures in place and work with the state to address that. Another region we can do things on is along our main thoroughfares. We can work with the Department of Transportation to introduce traffic calming measures, making sure that people have to slow down, that people have to take their time and drive slowly. It's gonna require a lot of change, it's gonna require time, but it's something that we need to take a long-term view at, because this is not gonna change overnight, and we need to be careful in how we approach these things. Didn't you start?
Oh, sorry. Okay. Next
She
question.
doesn't get to go. Wanna go again?
You've each mentioned PFAS previously, so let's deal with a question about it. What do you think the town should do about PFAS? And everybody seems to know what that is, contamination in their groundwater. What steps should the town take? John,
John,
start.
so
Okay, oh, come on, the chemicals can. I think this started 2 administrations ago, and then it came on to Nancy Gorski, sitting for Selectwoman until a couple Tuesdays from now. I look at things from mechanical standpoints. As I drove around town and I see our water company reservoirs out there, I don't think like a normal person. I look and say, wait, where does that water go? And somehow I think that water from these reservoirs heads down to Clinton. And so why is it going to cost us $7 million estimated to bring that town water back up here? So I don't think like putting filter systems on or giving water, no. Filter systems, people never take care of them. I go back and change those things, that's my feeling. And those things are so clogged, they're dying of the mold inside of them. And everyone knows there's nowhere to throw the toxic waste. So we have to rethink. How can the water company come up here? And it takes a lot of bargaining and a lot of twisting arms. And I could certainly twist some arms. But why can't we have a tank here? And why don't we supply our own water here? Why are we supplying all the other towns things?
You know, this is something of an engineering problem, and it is something of a chemical problem. How do you address a chemical that is designed not to interact with other chemicals? Cleaning that up is going to be difficult. Filtering it is difficult. But it can be done. We can design those systems. It's done elsewhere, and we can bring that expertise here. We can work with the state, particularly with the AG's office, and try and bring funding in to address those issues, to address the needs, to fix our water supply. PFAS issue is really localized to firehouse, town hall, KES, this sort of central component of town. It doesn't make sense to ship water from a reservoir to over here when we can filter it and we can maintain those filters. That is, you can address these without, introducing hundreds of millions of dollars worth of piping.
The PFAS currently is taken care of with the filters. They're working on figuring out to what extent and where it is. I believe that Beechwood, with their water system, they've been able to install filters so that they're taken care of. With the aqueducts, we're going to have to continue testing because the PFAS in the water, depending on where the aqueducts in the water goes, it might spread a little, and we have to be aware of that. There is all kinds of companies throughout the country and the world that are working on this. There was an article out that there was a company in Tacoma, Washington, that took a small trailer up to Alaska to one of the airports and cleaned half of 40,000 gallons of infected water with the PFAS, and they ended up having problems, so they had to stop, but the technology is what's going to save us.
Next with Eric. What would you do to support the volunteers who are so important to our town?
I mean, volunteers run almost everything in town. I'd be hard pressed to think of something that isn't a volunteer or doesn't have some volunteer component to
Eric,
it.
could you speak up? We would like to hear what you got to say.
Okay, making sure that they have the tools that they need, that they have the support that they need to address whatever they need to address. The fire company needs defibrillators. We need to make sure that they have the right equipment to address the needs that they come across. They do great work, and I would hate to see them, fall back on faulty equipment or, equipment that doesn't meet the standard that they need. But more than that, we need to make sure that they've given their time and that they've given their energy. We need to support them with their pensions. We need to support them with the other factors that come after their service.
To communicate with them, to know what the volunteers need to continue and to be safe. They're between the ambulance and the fire company. I feel that there's good communication now with the leaders of those companies so that if they're talking to me and there's a need, then we need to address it and see if there are any grants, if it's a dollar figure, or as much as figuring out how to make it so that if there's any way we can help getting the new volunteers, then that's something that I would be willing to work with.
There's a big difference in guessing and knowing. I was a volunteer up in Vermont for 2 years, but it was also a 4-year fire commission. There's no, when you're in charge and your job is to save lives, from the commission seat and also sitting down out at 911, I did sit at the firehouse and waited for our guys to make a decision whether we were going to go into 911. But when you're in that position, and when you fight fires, like I did, and then when I served as the commissioner, in my district, there wasn't, for 4 years, we responded within 3 to 5 minutes. And all of those things, we're going to help all these guys, as far as equipment, as far as trucks. I purchased trucks when the town said we had no money. I went all over the state, we looked at new firehouses. It's not a guessing game for me from day one. If this firehouse needs something, fine. If they want something, no. If they needed to suppress fires in this town, then I'll do everything in my power to see to it they have everything they need. Thanks.
Next question. What can you suggest doing to improve the communications between the town and residents?
We lost the crier, and that has been a loss that a lot of us has felt. If their HK News and HK Now has helped, the Selectwoman has an email that people need to get signed up for. I feel that if there was a push so that we could get more people on that, so if there's an emergency, it's not as easy as it sounds to sign up for it. I actually helped one resident sign up so that she would get the emails from the town hall when there was an emergency. I'm open to suggestion, but right now the crier, there's a new online that's come out, and we need to use them all together and make it more consistent so that if one's triggered, we may have to get 2 or 3 of them set up in line so that they all go, you have a better chance of getting the information out.
As far as improving it, there's always areas you can improve upon, but I believe what's in place now, most people communicate through their website, town website. There's also emails that come out, emergencies. There's always a way to improve it, but I'm not positive until I get in there to see what we need to communicate to the people. I hope that the people know that the people that are in office are doing all they can to continue to keep the services going that we do. But as far as improving on what's already in place, I think what's in place is adequate.
So I think this is one area where our sort of lack of a community center or areas of where we can gather and have sort of selectman hours where people can come, show up, ask questions outside of regular business hours or in evenings at night could be very helpful. I'm not calling for the construction of a community center at this time, but it is one of those areas where we're lacking. We need to make sure that people have time where they can meet with the selectmen and make sure that those concerns are heard to their satisfaction. Email can be extremely impersonal, and you're not always sure that somebody's going to respond or it's going to get lost. Social media is even worse in many ways. And really, it's the face-to-face conversations, especially ones I've had recently, that have been the most beneficial.
Thank you. Next question. How would you balance the varying interests of Killingworth residents? John, we'll
Say
start.
again?
Yes,
That's
sorry.
always first.
It goes quick.
I would wait for her to answer. Oh, yeah, I get too old.
How can you balance the varying interests of Killingworth's residents?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I'm going to give it a shot. So an interesting thing came up one of the last select board meetings. Somebody mentioned pickleball, and other people mentioned, well, I had no idea what that meant. I said, why would somebody whack a pickle in a ball? It didn't make sense to me. What are they doing? And they said, well, we want $100,000. Well, that's kind of tough to get out of me. You got to go a long way to get $100,000 for a pickleball court. Now I do better understand it, that it's the worldly thing to do, and I'm not all that worldly all the time. But so when special interest comes in for people who have other than what's going to benefit the whole town, you got to go like heck to sneak stuff like that around me. I said, so we can talk about all the things, and that I want the needs. The wants are going to get put behind. Needs. What do we need? Do we need snowplows on the road? Do we need people out there? What do people see out of their window? Not when spring comes and they get to whack a pickle. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, it's about talking to people and listening to what they have to say. You have to build a consensus around the issues that you face. You know, if you go to Beechwood, you need to hear what Beechwood residents are concerned about, what they want to have done, and then you have to go to other areas of town and listen to what they're concerned about, what they want to have done. And, you know, there is a lot of overlap. But when people disagree, it doesn't mean that they're enemies. It just means that they have different points of view that you can try and find common ground to solve. This is democracy in action. We're in a small room here. There's more people than we probably should have in this room, but I think the fire marshal disagrees with me on that. But at the end of the day, coming together and solving these issues together is what makes it so that you don't feel like you have competing interests, but shared interests that, and mutual respect, that is what keeps this town going.
Looking at our residents, the school system seems to take care of the younger of us. They have the sports, those kinds of things are taken care of. For our seniors, the Committee on Aging that has been instituted looks like they're going to be very active and help our seniors stay connected. And that's part of what I would like to see happening to make sure that no one slips through the cracks. The kids, there's a lot on that line. On our seniors, I think we could do a little more on keeping them involved, and not only Beechwood, but there are a lot of other seniors that don't live in that community. We have over a dozen residents that were born before 1930. We have 75 that were born.
Our overall time?
7:41.
No.
Sorry.
What is that in running time, 58 minutes? All right, next question, Eric. Do you see a need for more affordable housing in Killingworth? And if yes, what first steps would you propose toward achieving the goal?
So I think that this is definitely an issue we need to look at. People, you know, get their backs up when we talk about affordable housing. They're thinking, you know, apartments or what have you, that we don't really want to necessarily see in Killingworth because we love a rural character of our town. When I think of affordable housing, I'm thinking, you know, those small starter homes that a little family can live in or a little family can downsize to. It's going to take working with planning and zoning, and you know, we had a giant in the town, Tom Lentz, just celebrated his legacy here on planning and zoning, but we're going to have to also look towards the future of what technologies allow us to make these small homes and fit it within our water and conservation plan. So it's going to be a challenge, but we can definitely address affordability in this town.
Affordable housing is a scary, it's not what it, we assume affordable housing is what we think people can afford if it's $1,200 a month or $1,500 a month. The state looks at it differently. Right now, the property values in town, we're going to have problems dealing with that term, affordable housing.
At least 7.5.
I'm not really sure until I get into the office. I mean, I came from a city of 54,000 people, and there was billionaires, and there was people who live in low-income housing. So I noticed, the one thing I am not going to comment on how we're going to get there and why we have to, what the needs are. You know, but I can say during the last election, I noticed that we're at the elementary school and I saw hundreds of kids, little kids, and I looked in their eyes, hundreds. And I said, now where in the heck are these kids going to live? There were hundreds. And I said, and then every year it's the same. I don't look at these guys, I look at the kids. I said, where will they live if every acre in this town, people don't want us to develop? And eventually, whether it's affordable or not low income, and don't think we don't have low income people living in town. They live here. But you have to start to look at where will this next generation live? Do they all have to move out of here? And I remember my first meeting I went to in the Board of Selectmen, where the Selectmen said, my kids can't afford to live here. I said, then why are you a Board of Selectmen member? Figure it out. And we're going to have to figure those things out. And where these people go. So.
It's time for closing statements now, and we're allowing 2 minutes each for these. We will start with you, John.
I thought I went first before. Come on, you're killing me over. I feel like Joe Biden, you're killing me. Now listen, there's no doubt in my mind, this year, on my flyers, it says, the right man for the right time. I'm retired. Not that I'm 100% retired, but I'm retired. I've listened. If you've never seen me before, you've seen me at the dump. And for years, I watched and I've heard probably every complaint you could possibly have. I see people, my neighbors go by, they won't even talk to me. I see, forget about all that. I don't care who hates who. I don't care who you think you are. In this country, you're going to respect me, and I'm going to respect you. If you don't like that, too bad. When I run for office, I have the right to run in this country for as many as I want to. There was a guy years ago, I forget his name, Abe Lincoln. The guy ran like 13 times. I think he still didn't win. Maybe he went 17 times. You guys know more than I do. I didn't pay attention in school. But when you look at a leader in town, if you want someone to fight for you every day like I want, did I get that in the last 17 years? They did the best they could with what we had. If you want an aggressive person to go in Hartford and say, I want these grants, I want this money, we need to fix these roads. If you want your snowplow, I'm not going to just go out and pave a road because my wife complained the road has to be complained. We're going to fix the underground, the pipes that go underneath. You're not going to get a road until we fix the drainages in this town. And the drainages are horrible. When it comes to snow removal, I already said, as a councilman and as a fireman, I was at every single time the snow flew, we were there. I was at the town barn overseeing all of those hundreds of men that I oversee. And you could rest assured, everybody was satisfied with the work that got done. I know we got 2 or 3 guys, and they're overworked, but we also have to look at what do people get for their money. Every penny you spend under my administration, in my eyes, you will see that. Or we'll never run again. But that was quick. I thought you gave me 2 minutes. It's like 1 minute. Holy, no, it was on a run. Okay, thanks.
What makes our town great, what makes our country great, is that when we have issues that we really need to address, have things that we really need to take care of, we are able to come together and we are able to solve those issues. It's not about one man. It's about everybody coming together and working together to make sure that things get done. Whether it's from Carmely Farm to Chatfield Hollow or saving Deer Lake, when people work together, come together, compromise, come to consensus, and work for the common good, we do great things. And that's the mindset that I bring to the table. I'm here to serve as a mediator, to serve as a representative of the town, whether it's in Hartford, making sure that we work with our partners in the state government and make sure that they respect us and understand our positions. It's important that we have someone who's able to bring experience and knowledge on how our systems work and what's needed, and can go back and say, look, here are the people behind me that I've talked to, and I understand their issues, and I will make sure that those issues are heard wherever they need to be heard. That's why I'm running, because I want to represent all of you. That's what's important, all of you here today. It's what makes us work as a society. We can do great things, but we need to recognize that we are all part of it, and that we all have a part to play, however big or small.
I'm looking forward to working with the community to be the conduit to figure out what the townspeople are looking for, and to supervise and maintain the public works. We all know needs some beefing up. That needs to be looked into and addressed, as well as the committees getting the support they need, the school system and our seniors. Overall, just to shepherd the town into the next 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you all, candidates, for being here for this forum. We appreciate your opening and closing remarks and all the answers to the questions. We thank the town of Killingworth. Thank you to the town of Killingworth and the fire department for allowing us to use this meeting room tonight, filled to capacity. And we thank Valley Shore Community Television for recording this for later broadcasts, and we hope that it comes out well enough to be heard and understood by the home audience. Now, your part is to vote on Tuesday, November 7th, unless you can vote by absentee before that. So good night, and thank you all for coming. Thank you.